Okay, so now we are going to be talking about servers. This is a fairly advanced topic. Definitely wouldn't go into the territory of servers without having um, watched some of the previous segments of this video, particularly around how to use the Minecraft folder. But I'm just going to basically go over this. I'm not going to really demonstrate it, but I have some screenshots, and I think you'll have a lot of information to get you started here today. So what is a server? A Minecraft server allows multiple players to play in the same world. So the server is basically a host. So if you are providing a server, you are basically creating a world on your computer and then opening it up for other people to access it. So there are three types of servers. One is a LAN server. That LAN stands for Local Area Network. And that kind of server can only be accessed by the players that are connected to your home network or Wi-Fi. So in other words, if you're playing Minecraft at your home and on your personal Wi-Fi, you can open a LAN network, and anybody else that's connected to that Wi-Fi could join your world. And that is assuming that they are playing on the same version of Minecraft with the same mods or with no mods as you are. I'm going to go over that in a minute. A private server is a world that is hosted on your across the internet. So people from anywhere can log on if they have your IP address. So basically you create a world, you open it up to other people through the internet, and people can log on. There are some security issues with that. We'll talk about that in a minute. An online server there are many online servers out there. They're available to the masses. You can find them online. The host will give you their IP address or web domain, and you can log on and play with all the other people that are playing. In the resources handout that's available on my website, shanebowenedwards.com, you can find links to some of the ones that my kids enjoy playing on. Some of them, see, what can I give you? The cautions about online servers. Not everybody on the server is nice. So often there are names for it, like trolling and griefing and things that other players do because it's all done anonymously. And so you want to be really careful if you let your kids play on servers that they're as child friendly as possible. There's often a lot of use of bad words, and there's sometimes player versus player bullying and aggressing. You got to be really careful with the online server world, which is why hosting your own server might be a better option. So let's talk about the LAN server first. The way to host a LAN server, it's really easy. Let's see if I can demonstrate it for you. Here I am in a game, a Minecraft game. If I hit escape, I have the option to open to LAN. So basically you start a single player world, you open it to LAN, then you choose which game mode it's going to be in, whether you want cheats or not. You can look up what all of those mean, and then you say start LAN world. And all that's happened now is that anybody that's playing Minecraft on your server, when they get into their game, they would, they would choose multiplayer, and your game that you open to LAN would be available right here. So that's how that is done. Let's see what all this says. So I just showed you all that. So here's one other note. The game will only be available to other players for as long as the person who initially opened the game is still playing in the world. If they log out or if they close the world, then the world closes down for everybody. So basically the world that's open is resident on the person's computer who initiated the open to LAN. So that's a LAN server. Let me give you a quick viewing of a online server. because I noticed that I have one here. This is the Minecraft Mineplex server. What this is telling you is that 33,000 people are on it right now. It's a lot of people. Let's go ahead and join it just to get a glimpse of what it's like. As you can see, there are lots of other people. Every one of these are people that are currently playing on the Mineplex server. And you can see right here, one thing, it's very noisy. There's no way for me to show you, but you can see that there are people talking to each other there in the chat that's on the bottom left-hand corner. Sometimes people do or say mean things to each other. So it's a whole world that the kids are more comfortable in than I am as a parent. So user discretion recommended. Okay, now let's talk about how to host a private server. Again, I'm not actually going to go through and demonstrate this for you, but I have some screenshots set up. I'm just going to kind of talk you through it. There are lots of places to get information about how to set up a server, and this is one of them. It's the Minecraft Gamepedia, how to set up a server. That's where I went for all my information, and I would direct you there if you're having any trouble, but I'm going to kind of walk you through what I have learned. So the instructions that I'm going to walk you through are for Windows servers. It's a little bit different for the Mac. I'm actually demonstrating on a Mac, which is another reason why I'm not going to demonstrate it for you, because there are a couple extra steps that you have to go through when you're doing it on a Mac. In fact, let me just go here and show you. This is a trusted source, and if you come down here, where is it? Here's the instructions for OS 10. There's a couple little nuances here. One of them is this area right here that involves using the terminal. It walks you through it, a very straightforward way. I just can't really do that for you in this context, so I'm going to show you the Windows version, which will get you pretty far along the way. So for one thing, you have to make sure you have a reliable, stable computer. It has to have a fairly fast CPU and a decent amount of RAM. You also have to have the most recent version of Java loaded, and you have to have relatively fast upload and download speeds. If you try and create a server on a slower computer, you're going to run into problems, lagginess. It's just not an enjoyable experience for anybody concerned. So unless you have the right equipment, I wouldn't even recommend trying. I would stick with the LAN servers. But basically, here's what you do. You go to your desktop and you create a folder and you name it something meaningful, like Minecraft Server. So, in other words, it has to have a standalone folder that exists in. So, that's what you do first. You create a folder on your desktop, call it Minecraft Server, and then you go to http://minecraft.net and you download the server files. So that's not where I wanted to go. I wanted to go here. So here's Minecraft.net. This is where you originally got the Minecraft game. And let's see where you log in to get it. Let's say Get Minecraft. We already have a Mojang account, so let me log in to be able to see what it was going to show me. Download Minecraft. So, it's probably not going to show me because I'm on a Mac and it detected that. If you were on Windows, it would detect this. And here it's giving you how to download Minecraft for Windows. And down here you see where it's going to help you download the multiplayer server. And what you do is you click right here and it downloads it for you. It's relatively easy. You just click there, it'll go to your downloads folder, and then here's showing you where you download the server jar. And then you move, so what you're going to get is a is a file that just looks like this, the little Minecraft server folder, and you move that into your Minecraft server folder that you created, and then you double click on it. When you double click on it, you'll probably get a warning, is it okay? You're just making sure that you know that it's from an outside source, but you're going to override the warning and go ahead and okay it. And it will create a few more folders within your Minecraft server folder. So in addition to Minecraft server, you're also going to have the logs folder, a EULA text file, and a server file. So the first thing you need to do, and you can't do anything without doing this, is you're going to open that file called EULA. You basically double click it, or you might have to open it using the Notepad app. And you're going to see it's going to look like this. And in the very end, the very last statement in there, this is just now like a text file. And when you open it up, it's going to say EULA equals false. You need to change it to EULA equals true. So all you do is you just erase false, you type in true, you save and close that EULA file, and that gives you permission to proceed. So once you've done that, then the next thing to do is you double click again on that Minecraft server file, the little grass block, looks like this. And when you have double clicked on that the second time around, it creates a whole lot of new files for you. So this is basically what your Minecraft server folder looks like, and I'm going to tell you what each of those files means. So, also when you open that, in addition to the file, adding more files to your folder, it's going to open your server window, and it looks like this. Not much to be seen there, not much to do there. When your server is active, you'll see all the activity going on here. When they're it'll tell you which players are logged on. So it's actually meaningful to monitor your server, but right now it just looks like a blank window. If you want to enter commands into this window, for instance, if you want to stop the server, there's this little bar down here. It's not labeled. Let me go back and show you. It just looks like this. You'd hardly know that you could type things in it, but you click there and you can type in things, and the commands always start with a hashtag, or a backslash. So \stop, and you hit enter, and it'll shut down your server. It's always helpful to shut down your server rather than leave it open. When you have a server open, you're leaving yourself sort of vulnerable to people getting into your network. So it's always best when you're done playing on the server to stop it, and that's how you do it. /stop, enter, and then the whole thing shuts down. Here's some other commands that I'll use. I'm going to explain what they are later, but /op, and then you would put in the player name. For me, it's WolfieShane2000. Hit enter, and that'll give op privileges to this player you specified. Another one we'll be using would be /whitelist, add, and then you put the player's name. So /whitelist, add WolfieShane2000. If you're running a server and you want to keep it secure so other people can't get in, you create a whitelist. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So anyway, your server as of now is actually running. Let me kind of go over what all these files do, because as the server administrator, you may need to get in there and make some changes. So the logs just keep track of stuff that's going on in the server world. The world folder, let me go back and show you here. It's a folder. That is the map, the world, the save that your players will be playing in. So you only get one world per server. If when you first just open your server as we did now, you're playing in a randomly generated world. You can replace that folder if you have a world that you created and you want to host it as your server world. You just rename it world, small WORLD, and copy it into that folder. So you would just copy your world folder from your Minecraft folder, copy it over the top of this one. Right now we're playing on a randomly generated world. You copy your world into here, replace that folder, and then the world that you created will be the one that the players are playing on, if that makes sense. There's another way to, rather than name it world, you could keep it in the name that it's named and change the properties file. I'll talk to you about that in just a second. There are some folders here for band players. If there are people, if you're at a relatively high enough advanced level of servering, then you'll know about band players and how to keep track of them. That's just if people are being bad on your server, how to keep them from ever coming in. I'm not going to talk much about that now. I'm expecting that people that are looking at this video are just wanting to play with a group of their friends. And for that, I would suggest the whitelist function, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So the band players are that's kind of the blacklisted people. Ops. So you'll see there's a little ops file here. This is just a text file actually, but it's where the server file references who has been given the op privileges. Again, I'm not a very skilled Minecraft player, but I believe when you have op privileges, you're able to TP back and forth and do things that you cannot do if you don't have op privileges. So one of the first things I usually do is when I get people playing on my server is, again, you go into this little window and you type the command /op and player name and enter. And what that will do is write that player name into this, where are we? Into this ops file, and those players will be able to TP and collect inventory and things like that. User cache, I don't know what that means, but it's not important. I've never had to use it. A whitelist is basically a list of players that you've allowed on your server. Initially, when a server opens up, there's no whitelist. Anybody that has your IP address can log on and play on your server. So if you want a little bit of privacy, if you want to be able to limit who can get on there, I would suggest using a whitelist. And the way you do it, you don't modify this whitelist folder or file. What you do is you go to your server window and you type into this little bar /whitelist add and the player name. You can also /whitelist remove the player name if you want to take people off the whitelist if they've been misbehaving. But that's how you add them to the list. This doesn't keep you completely safe from hacker people getting into your computer. Once you've opened a port and allowed Minecraft and opened up the ability for people to sign into your Minecraft server, they also have some limited access to your computer in general. So whitelist isn't going to keep people off your computer if bad guys get in there and try and get in and do bad things to your computer, but it will limit the people who can play in the world that you've designated on your server. So use that at your own discretion. The other really important file, this is the server file right here. That is, like, I call it the server properties file. You can open it with Notepad, and what you see is this is a list of all the variables that the server jar uses. So the Minecraft server properties, op permission level. These are most of this. I think my little snapshot here shows you the default settings. So for instance here, allow nether equals true. If you didn't want nether in your game, you could change that to false. Level name equals world. So this is the place where if you want to name your world, Lucky Block World, this has to match the name of the folder here. So if you drag in a world and you call it Lucky Block World, you want your server property level name equal to match that exactly, whatever you called your world. I find it easier to just always call it world, but if you want to call it something specific, you have to name it here for the server to be able to find it. Otherwise, the server will just keep randomly generating a new world. Let's see, allow flight. I often change that to true. If players want their achievements announced, you could change that. I'm going to give you a reference to where all of these properties are explained and the proper syntax for them are explained. The server port, and this is going to become important in a minute, the generic default server port for Minecraft is 25565. When we start talking about ports, that'll be important. Maximum world size. You know, these are all sort of self-explanatory, and again, I'm going to give you a link to be able to look up exactly what they mean. Whitelist is defaulted to false. If you want to have a whitelist, you have to change that to true. If you want animals, true. If you don't, false. You can go so far as to put a resource pack in there if you'd like, and you need to specify it here. You know, these are all things that you can look up and see. I often enable command block to true. And the one thing I want to tell you about is, let's see, which one is it? View distance. If you find that your server is laggy, one thing that you can do to make it less laggy is to make that view distance a little smaller, like 5 or 6. It just makes the repainting of the world every time somebody moves a little less labor intensive. MOTD stands for message of the day. It's defaulted to a Minecraft server, but if you wanted to say, you know, this is Amy's Minecraft server, you put it in there, and when people go to access your server, that's the message that they'll get. I'll show you that. Let's see, I'll show you that right now. On the Mineplex server, their message of the day is Carl the Creeper, 75% off sale. So yours would look like whatever your server name would be. I think don't remember how that is assigned, but here's where your message of the day would be. Okay. So again, I'm going to give you a place to look all those things up, but that's a place to get you started. So here it is. Minecraft Gamepedia.com, server properties. That will take you to this page, and this page lists every one of those and what they all, and all the different settings and what they mean. So that's pretty invaluable when you're starting to set up your server. Okay, so once you've established your server, we know that your server is running, you've set the settings the way you want them to be. In order for people to log onto your server, they have to know your IP address. And you can do this by visiting whatsmyip.org. Or basically you can type into a Google search, what is my IP? And it will automatically detect it and give it to you. So let's just see if we can demonstrate that. Whatsmyip.org, and it tells me this is my IP address. So that's the number that you're going to give people. Let's see if I can demonstrate that. If they're going to add your server, if somebody wants to play on your server, they would say add server. They would call this is where it comes in, Amy's server. That's just my name for me to identify it. And here's where I would put in that server name, which I immediately cannot remember. So let's go back and look at that. 99.137.225.38. And here you would put, if your server is running on the default port, you don't have to put anything there. But if it isn't, you put a colon and the port number. I'm going to talk about ports again in a minute. Now, if my server were actually functioning, you would see it would have the green bars here instead of the blue bars. It would tell you how many people were on. It would have my message of the day, and you would be able to join that server and start playing. So that's how people access your server from afar. And this is just telling you what I just told you. Okay, now we're going to talk about ports. This is the only part that it took me many, many hours of trying to figure out how to do this, so I'm going to try and tell you as much as I can about it. If you are functioning with a router, if your Wi-Fi, your network, however you connect to the internet goes through a router, then you're probably going to need to adjust your router settings in order for people to access your server. So this is called port forwarding, and every router is so different. Um, there are ways to look up how to work your specific router, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you mine just for fun. I actually went and physically looked at my router, and on my router, um, there's a little placard on it that gives me this IP address and tells me that that's how I can access my router. So the first place you look is actually go physically pick up your router, find the place that tells you how to access its settings online, and this is what mine looks like. Again, everyone looks different, but basically what you're looking for is um, where to open ports. Sometimes it's called NAT gaming. In my AT&T router, I go to the firewall, and from there I go to NAT gaming. Oh dear, it wants my password. So, pardon me while I type it in. The password was also imprinted on my router itself. That's where I found the password. So it's all available to you. They just don't want anybody coming in and changing that. So as you can see, I have set up, I did manage custom services. I can show you that. These are all the different ones I set up. You tell it what to call it. I called them Minecraft 25565. I gave it a port range of 25565 through 25565. The base port I call 25565, and the protocol is TCP/UDP. I think either one of them works. If they only give you a choice of one or the other, that's probably fine. If they give you a choice, choose both. So anyway, I've already done this. I set up several alternative ports on my computer that are open to Minecraft, and that way I can have several different servers going. I hope that makes sense. If you have an AT&T device and you want me to help you walk through this, you can email me and I'm happy to try and help. But if you don't, which you probably don't, or you have one that doesn't look like mine, this little website here, portforward.com, is really helpful. It gives a list of all the different routers that people might have. You can find your router here and it will tell you how to port forward on your router. So this is probably the trickiest, hardest part of setting up a server, is figuring out how to open that port. But this is a really good resource for it. And again, you can call me and I can try, or email me and I can try and help you with that. Once you've got the port forwarded, then you're golden. Your server should be working. So that's what I have for you. Again, I've got the notes for all my presentation is on shanebowenedwards.com. It's got screenshots. It's got resources that you can download that has links to all the websites that I referred to, plus more. And it also has my mod library. Let's just take you there as a final goodbye. Here it is. It might look a little different by the time you see it because I will be uploading this video of the full presentation. But basically it looks like this. There is an area here that has all the mods from my mod library and all the Forge installers. So if you wanted a 1.7.10 mod, you can either download all of them here or you can choose them one by one. You skip all that crazy, ad-supported download pages. They download right to your download folders and you can just drop them in your mods folder and play with them. So that's it. Thank you for joining me. Happy Minecrafting.